"Be a good girl, Amaka," her uncle said, hugging her tightly at the bus station. "Your aunt is a good woman. She will take care of you." Amaka nodded, tears rolling down her cheeks. She was only 14, and her world had just turned upside down. Her parents had died in a car accident 2 months ago. Her uncle, who had tried his best, couldn't take care of her and his own family at the same time. So he sent her to Lagos to live with her late father's younger sister, Madame Clara. Clara was rich. Her husband worked abroad and sent money every month. She lived in a big compound with a red gate, a generator house, and a driver. But inside that fine house, Amaka was about to face a life she never expected. "You are welcome," Clara said coldly the day Amaka arrived. "You will sleep in the kitchen for now. Tomorrow morning, wake up by 4:30 a.m. I don't want laziness in this house." Amaka nodded. She looked at the faces of her cousins, Ada, Chi-Chi, and Junior. They looked well-fed, clean, and wore beautiful clothes. Amaka's own dress was old, and her slippers were dusty. Nobody helped her carry her bag. She dragged it behind her into the kitchen and saw her new bed, a thin mat beside the fridge. That night, as everyone slept in their rooms with AC, Amaka curled up on the mat, hugged herself, and whispered, "Mommy, Daddy, please watch over me." The next day, Clara woke Amaka with a loud shout. "Lazy girl, you still dey sleep by 4:45? What kind of bush upbringing is that?" From that day, Amaka became the housemaid. She swept, mopped, cooked, washed clothes, and even cleaned the dog's cage. Every morning, Madame Clara would bring a big bag full of clothes and say, "Wash all these today. I want them neat." Amaka looked at the washing machine in the corner. It was working fine, but Madame Clara warned her, "Don't touch that machine. You want to spoil it. Use your hands. That's what you came here for." Sometimes the pile was so high, her fingers turned red. But no one cared. No one even said thank you. Her cousins watched cartoons while she worked. They ate snacks and drank juice. Amaka worked with an empty stomach. A few days later, Junior said, "Mummy, I want to eat Mr. Big's chicken." Madame Clara smiled. "Okay, let's all go out today." They all dressed up. Ada and Chi-Chi wore fine clothes. Junior wore new sneakers. Amaka wore the same old gown she had been using since she arrived. Her hair was rough and dry. Clara looked at her and hissed, "You can follow us, but don't expect anything. Sit down quietly." At Mr. Big's, they ordered everything: fried rice, chicken, ice cream, meat pie, and drinks. They sat at a round table laughing and eating. Amaka was asked to sit far away, alone on another table. She kept her head down. She felt shame. She felt hunger. Her stomach was making noise. A kind woman sitting nearby noticed her. She walked up and asked softly, "My dear, haven't you eaten?" Amaka shook her head. "Don't worry, I'll buy you something." The woman smiled. Soon, a waiter brought food to Amaka: fried rice, chicken, and malt. Her face brightened. She reached out to eat. But Madame Clara saw it. She stood up quickly, walked over, grabbed the food, and threw it in the dustbin. She faced the woman and shouted, "Please mind your business. This girl is not hungry. She is just stubborn and always wants to disgrace me." The whole restaurant went quiet. Everyone stared. Clara turned to Amaka. "Stand up. Let's go now before I slap you here." Amaka followed them out with her head down. Tears ran down her cheeks. When they got home, Clara beat her with a broom. "Next time, you collect food like a beggar, I will throw you out. Shame on you." She didn't give Amaka food that night. She locked the fridge. Amaka sat in the kitchen, weak and crying. Around midnight, Junior came to the kitchen. He had heard her crying. He put on the light. Amaka quickly wiped her tears. He didn't say anything. He just walked to the gas cooker, boiled water, and made indomie. When Clara opened the kitchen door and asked, "What are you doing, son?" Junior said, "I'm hungry. I want to eat indomie." Clara nodded and left. After she was gone, Junior gave Amaka the plate of indomie. She looked at him with surprise. Amaka sat quietly in the kitchen, the warm indomie in her hands. She could feel her heart racing, a mixture of gratitude and confusion. Junior had never been this kind to her before. She looked at him, unsure of what to say. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice shaky. Junior just nodded, his face softening for the first time since she arrived. "You're welcome. Don't cry." Amaka took a deep breath and began to eat slowly. It wasn't much, but it was the first meal she had enjoyed in days. As she ate, she thought about how cruel Madame Clara had been. She wondered if things would ever get better. The next morning, just as Amaka was finishing up her chores, Clara walked into the kitchen with a frown. "Why is this place still dirty?" she snapped. "Did you sweep the compound?" Amaka felt her heart drop. She had been cleaning for hours already, but Clara was never satisfied. "Yes, Aunt," Amaka said quietly, her eyes on the ground. Clara eyed her suspiciously. "Humph, lazy girl. Get the mop and finish up the corners." Amaka went outside to grab the mop. Her hands were sore from yesterday's work, but she didn't dare complain. As she worked, she could hear Clara and the children talking and laughing inside the house. It hurt her heart to feel so alone, even in the house full of people. Days passed, and Amaka continued with her chores. She became good at doing everything quickly, so she could rest for a few minutes between tasks. One evening, as she was washing the dishes, she heard a soft knock at the kitchen door. She turned around and saw Junior standing there, holding a small plate of rice and stew. "Here," he said, holding it out. "I made some extra food. I thought you might want it." Amaka blinked, surprised. "You made this?" Junior shrugged. "I saw you working hard. You don't deserve to go hungry. Eat." She looked at the plate, her heart swelling with emotions she couldn't quite explain. No one had ever been kind to her like this. "Thank you, Junior. You didn't have to do this," Amaka said, trying to hold back her tears. Junior smiled softly. "I know what it's like to be treated unfairly. Just don't tell anyone. If my mom finds out, she'll throw a fit." Amaka nodded, grateful for his kindness, but also afraid. She didn't want to cause trouble for him. The weeks that followed were a blur of work and isolation. Madame Clara's demands became more unreasonable, and Amaka's spirit grew heavier. She was beginning to feel like she had no escape from the endless chores and harsh words. One evening, after a particularly difficult day, Amaka sat on her thin mat in the kitchen, staring at the fridge. The memory of her parents flashed in her mind. She longed for their comfort, their love, but they were gone. All she had now were her memories and a heart full of pain. Junior found her again that night, as he had on several occasions. But this time, something in Amaka broke. She couldn't hold her emotions back anymore. She let out a sob, loud and painful. Junior, who had been quietly sitting on the stool in the corner, quickly rushed to her side. "Amaka, what's wrong?" he asked, his voice full of concern. "I can't do this anymore, Junior," Amaka cried. "Every day is worse than the last. I can't take it. I miss my parents so much." Junior sat down next to her, rubbing her back comfortingly. "I know, Amaka. I know it's hard, but you can't give up. You're strong. You'll get through this." Amaka wiped her tears, but the pain still lingered. "I don't feel strong anymore. I feel so alone. Nobody cares about me here." Junior didn't say anything for a moment. Then he gently spoke. "I care about you, Amaka. I'm not going to let you go through this alone." His words, simple as they were, felt like a lifeline to Amaka. For the first time since her arrival, she felt like someone understood her pain. As days went by, Amaka and Junior grew closer, but they kept their bond a secret. Madame Clara was still as harsh as ever, and the last thing they needed was to make her more upset. But Clara's anger had a way of spilling over, and it wasn't long before she found out about the late-night meals Junior had been sharing with Amaka. One morning, as Amaka was cleaning the living room, Clara burst in with a scowl on her face. "Junior, come here right now!" Junior quickly walked into the living room, his eyes meeting Amaka's for a brief moment before he lowered his head. "How dare you bring food for that lazy girl behind my back?" Clara yelled. "Do you think I'm feeding her because I'm some kind of fool? Are you trying to make me look bad in front of the neighbors?" Junior tried to speak, but Clara cut him off. "Don't talk back. I'll deal with both of you later." Amaka's heart pounded in her chest. She could feel the tension rising, and she knew something bad was about to happen. After Clara's harsh outburst, Junior felt a knot in his stomach. He didn't want to see Amaka suffer anymore, but he didn't know what more he could do. Later that night, after Madame Clara had gone to bed, he couldn't sleep. The sound of Amaka's sobs echoed in his mind. Unable to bear it, he quietly got up and walked to his mother's room. He knocked softly on the door before stepping inside. Clara, sitting on her bed, was flipping through a magazine, looking up at him with a cold expression. "Why are you still awake?" she asked, her voice sharp. "I need to talk to you, Mum," Junior said, his voice nervous. Clara raised an eyebrow, then sighed. "What is it now, Junior? Don't tell me you're about to beg me for something ridiculous again." Junior stepped forward, his heart heavy. "Mom, you have to take care of Amaka. She's been through so much. She's family. Your brother's daughter. You should treat her like your own child." Clara frowned, putting down her magazine. "Amaka, like my own child. That girl is nothing but bad luck. Don't you see? Her parents died in that accident. That's a sign. She's a burden, Junior. You should stop worrying about her." Junior's eyes widened in shock. "Mum, how can you say that? She lost everything. Her parents were good people. Why would you say something like that about her?" Clara stood up, her face hardening. "Because it's the truth. Don't be a fool. The reason her parents are dead is because she brought bad luck with her. You can't help someone who is cursed, Junior. Don't you see that?" Junior felt a wave of anger rise inside him. "I don't believe that, Mom. She's not cursed. She's just a little girl who's been thrown into this world without anyone to care for her. And I'm not going to just sit back and let you treat her like this." Clara's voice grew icy. "You don't understand. If you keep helping her, you'll end up just like her. I won't let that happen. Do you hear me?" Junior swallowed hard. "Please, Mum, I'm begging you. Don't throw her away like this. Take care of her. Please." Clara walked closer to him, her eyes narrow with warning. "I've told you before, Junior. Stop bringing her food. Stop treating her like she's special. If I catch you sneaking food to her again, you'll regret it. I won't tolerate this nonsense in my house." Junior stared at his mother, his heart sinking. He felt helpless, torn between the woman who had raised him and the girl he was beginning to care for. "I understand," he said quietly, his voice filled with defeat. "I'll stop." Clara nodded, satisfied. "Good. Now go to bed. I don't want to hear about this nonsense again." Junior left her room and walked slowly back to his own. As he lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, he couldn't shake the feeling that he had failed Amaka. He was helpless. He couldn't change his mother's heart, no matter how much he wanted to. The following days were filled with a tense silence. Amaka could feel the change in the air. She noticed that Junior didn't bring her food anymore, and whenever their eyes met, there was a sadness in his that made her heart ache. One morning, as Amaka was sweeping the compound, Clara approached her with a stern look on her face. "Amaka," she said, her voice cold. "From now on, don't expect any food from anyone in this house. You're here to work, not to eat like you're part of the family." Amaka nodded silently, not daring to speak. She had learned long ago that speaking up only made things worse. Clara turned on her heel and walked back to the house, leaving Amaka standing in the middle of the compound, her heart heavy with both hunger and sadness. That night, as Amaka lay on her mat in the kitchen, she heard the sound of laughter coming from the dining room. It was Clara, Junior, Ada, and Chi-Chi. They were having dinner together, laughing and talking, while Amaka sat alone in the dark. She closed her eyes, trying to block out the noise. But the hunger in her stomach and the loneliness in her heart were too much. She silently prayed for strength, for courage to keep going, even when everything seemed hopeless. But deep down, she knew she couldn't endure this much longer. As the days went on, Junior couldn't stand seeing Amaka suffer. He felt guilty every time he saw her working in silence, her stomach growling, her eyes tired and hollow from lack of sleep and food. He remembered his mother's words, but he couldn't just sit back and let Amaka suffer. So, secretly, every night after his mother went to bed, Junior would sneak into the kitchen, fill a plate with food, and slip out of the house. He made sure to hide the food in the small security house at the corner of the compound. Amaka, knowing the routine, would wait until everyone had fallen asleep before sneaking out to the security house to eat. It became their secret, a silent bond that grew between them. Junior would leave food for her, and Amaka would eat quietly, alone in the dark, behind the security house. It was the only time she felt like a person again, not just a maid. She would sit, close her eyes, and imagine what it would be like to eat at the dining table with everyone else, like a real part of the family. But those moments were fleeting, just a temporary escape from her harsh reality. One day, while Amaka was leaving the security house, having just finished her secret meal, she saw Madame Clara approaching. Clara's sharp eyes noticed her, and her face twisted with suspicion. "What are you doing there?" Clara asked, her voice icy. She looked at the empty plate in Amaka's hands. "Are you sneaking food again? Is this where you've been hiding, stealing from my house?" Amaka's heart sank. She didn't know how to explain. Before she could say anything, Clara's voice rose in anger. "How dare you? I told you to stay away from this place," Clara shouted. "You think I don't know what's going on here? You're sleeping with the security guard, aren't you? You want to disgrace me in my own house." Amaka's face turned pale with shock. She couldn't believe what Clara was accusing her of. "No, Aunt, I'm not." "Shut up!" Clara yelled, her hand striking Amaka across the face. "Don't lie to me. I will teach you a lesson you'll never forget." Clara grabbed a broomstick and began to beat Amaka mercilessly. The security guard, hearing the commotion, came rushing out. "Madame Clara, please listen. It's not what you think. It's Junior. He's the one who's been leaving food for her," the security guard said, stepping forward. But Clara didn't listen. "Stop lying. You're just covering for her." She kept beating Amaka, her anger blinding her to the truth. The security guard tried to intervene, but Clara pushed him aside, continuing to lash out at Amaka. "You'll pay for this, you ungrateful girl," Clara screamed, ignoring the guard's attempts to stop her. Amaka, her body bruised and weak from the beating, felt her spirit breaking. She couldn't take it anymore. She finally gathered what little strength she had left and ran. She ran as fast as she could, out of the compound, down the street, and into the night, leaving behind the only home she had known in the past few months. Amaka didn't know where she was going. She ran without thinking, tears streaming down her face, her heart aching with pain. She found herself sitting on the side of the road, her knees pulled to her chest, crying helplessly. "Mummy, Daddy, please help me. I don't know where to go," she whispered through her sobs, as if her parents could hear her from wherever they were. Her clothes were torn, her face bruised, and her spirit broken. But just when she thought she couldn't go on, a kind voice broke through her despair. "Are you okay, child?" a soft voice asked. Amaka looked up through her tears to see a woman standing in front of her, looking concerned. The woman was older, dressed in a simple but elegant gown. She knelt down beside Amaka, gently wiping away her tears with a cloth. "Come with me, my dear," the woman said. "You don't have to be alone." Amaka hesitated at first, but then, with no one else left to turn to, she nodded. The woman helped her up and led her to her car. "You don't need to explain everything right now. I'll take care of you." The woman, whose name was Mrs. Ngozi, took Amaka into her home. She treated her like her own daughter, giving her a warm meal, a soft bed to sleep in, and the love she had longed for. Mrs. Ngozi was kind and patient, never asking too many questions, but offering Amaka the space to heal. In the days that followed, Amaka started to feel safe again. Mrs. Ngozi enrolled her in school, and for the first time since her parents died, Amaka felt like she had a chance at a normal life. But Clara wasn't giving up that easily. She searched the streets, asking everyone if they had seen Amaka. She called the police, insisting that Amaka had stolen from her and run away. But even with all her efforts, Clara couldn't find her. And in the meantime, Amaka was slowly rebuilding her life, surrounded by kindness and warmth, a stark contrast to the cruelty she had left behind. Madame Clara's search for Amaka took her to every corner of the city, but the girl seemed to have disappeared. Her frustration grew, and the anger in her heart burned brighter with each passing day. After several days of looking, she finally made her way to her brother's house, thinking that perhaps Amaka had gone there for refuge. She knocked loudly on the door, her face twisted in frustration. Amaka's uncle, Mr. Okafor, opened the door, his face filled with confusion and irritation. "Clara, what are you doing here?" he asked, barely hiding his annoyance. "I'm looking for that useless girl," Madame Clara spat, her voice cold and harsh. "Amaka has run away, and I know she's hiding here. I've been searching everywhere. She's a disgrace." Mr. Okafor's face tightened, his brows furrowing with anger. Because Amaka and Mrs. Ngozi left his house a day before, Amaka had told her uncle everything, how Madame Clara, her own aunt, maltreated her. He thanked Mrs. Ngozi for finding his niece so he blessed Amaka before Amaka and Mrs. Ngozi left for the city. When Madame Clara came to his house, he stood in the doorway, his arms crossed. "Clara, I don't know what you think you're doing, but you need to stop this nonsense. Amaka is not here, and you won't find her here. The girl is suffering under your roof, and you think you can just throw her out like trash." Clara's eyes widened in disbelief. "What do you mean?" she sneered, her voice rising. "I'm just trying to get her under control. She's ungrateful, and she's ruining everything." Mr. Okafor's voice grew sharper. "She's a child, Clara. Your brother's only child, and you've treated her like dirt. You're too busy with your own life to care for her properly. Amaka is the daughter of my late brother, your own blood, and you can't even take care of her. It's a shame, Clara. A shame." Clara's face turned red with rage. "How dare you say that to me? You think I don't know what I'm doing? You think I don't have enough to handle already?" She shoved past him, storming into the living room. "That girl is trouble, and I'm better off without her." Mr. Okafor slammed the door behind her, his voice growing cold. "You're the one who's trouble, Clara. You're so blind by your pride and selfishness that you can't see what you've done to that child. She didn't deserve any of this. She deserves love, care, and a family. If you can't provide that, then I will not sit by and let you ruin her life." The silence between them grew thick, But Clara didn't care. She was too angry to listen. She stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind her, leaving her brother standing there, shaking his head in disgust. As days turned into weeks, Amaka's life with Mrs. Ngozi was nothing like what she had known before. Madame Ngozi was a woman of grace, a woman who had never married and didn't have children of her own, but she loved Amaka like her own daughter. From the moment she took Amaka in, she treated her with kindness and care, making sure the girl had everything she needed. Amaka no longer woke up at the crack of dawn to scrub floors or wash endless piles of clothes. Instead, Madame Ngozi woke her up gently every morning, saying, "Get up, my dear. Today is a new day." She made sure Amaka had breakfast, took her to a better school, and gave her the time to just be a normal child, something Amaka hadn't experienced for a long time. The school Madame Ngozi enrolled Amaka in was a top-tier institution, a place that was 100 times better than the one Clara's children attended. The classrooms were bright and modern, the teachers caring and attentive. Amaka felt like she had stepped into a whole new world. Her classmates were kind, and the lessons were interesting. For the first time in a long while, she felt like she belonged. Every day after school, Amaka would come home with a smile on her face, excited to share what she had learned. Madame Ngozi, who had never been a mother, was now the most loving and attentive mother Amaka could have ever dreamed of. One day, as they sat together, Amaka said, "Madame Ngozi, thank you for everything. You're more than just a guardian to me. You've given me a life I never thought I could have." Madame Ngozi smiled and hugged her tight. "You deserve all the happiness in the world, Amaka. You are my daughter now. Never forget that." Amaka's heart swelled with gratitude. For the first time in months, she could finally breathe freely. Meanwhile, Madame Clara was still consumed by her bitterness, her search for Amaka continuing with no end in sight. She tried to convince herself that she was better off without the girl, but a small part of her, deep down, knew that something was missing. She saw her children, Ada, Chichi, and Junior, living their lives as though everything was fine. Yet, despite their wealth and comfort, the emptiness in Clara's heart grew. Clara couldn't help but think about how Amaka was doing, but she quickly pushed the thought aside. After all, Amaka was nothing but a nuisance. If she couldn't take care of her, why should she care where she was? But when she heard whispers about the better school Amaka was attending, her curiosity got the better of her. It didn't take long before she found out that Amaka was thriving, excelling in a school that was far superior to the one her own children attended. She heard how Amaka was scoring top marks and making friends, while Ada and Chichi struggled to keep up in their own school. This truth was like a slap in the face to Clara. It reminded her of just how much she had failed Amaka, and how far behind her own children were compared to the girl she had treated so terribly. A sharp pang of jealousy twisted in her chest, but she pushed it aside, unwilling to admit she might have made a mistake. She couldn't stand it. She had to do something. To be continued,